Hello everyone, welcome once again to Investing with a Difference. So we are back with our weekly update. There are quite a lot of exciting things which are happening in EOS world. We will talk about that, and before that, of course, we will look at the markets as usual and discuss where we are heading and what we think about it. So let's get started. So let's as usual start with the Bitcoin price. As you can see, we have been very strong after the amazing exponential rise we had all the way below $4,000 mark to where we are today at 8,000. This happened very fast, but the good news is that it's very stable in this area. So if we go to the hourly chart, you can see here that we did try to drop. The bears tried to fight back and brought it down to the $7,000 area, but we very quickly recovered and again consolidating in the $8,000 mark. So more time we spend here, I believe that there is a good chance that we will continue this rally. In ideal world, as I explained to you in the last video, we should have gone down to $6,000 mark, and we did see a blip here on Bitstamp where you saw the big drop. It's with a huge volume. Now this is not visible in some of the other exchanges, so I would not take this as a serious correction. So there is still a possibility because of the exponential rise. If we go back on our daily chart, we can try to go and drop to the $6,000 area. Remember that we have come very far away from 200-day moving average. So while this was a bullish breakout when we broke out of 200-day moving average, we are now almost at 100% above the 200-day moving average. So with this, there is always a chance that we try to go back to the mean and try to go touch that. But I think if excuse me for that. All right, so I think we will go from here and see if if we consolidate, keep consolidating, and more time we spend here, that is actually equivalent of the correction. So what I'm seeing is on the short-term charts, definitely Bitcoin is looking oversold. So there is a good chance we can rally again after all this correction consolidation. Rest of the market is actually rallying now. As you can see, when we were looking at it the last few times, we saw the Bitcoin dominance had reached 60%, and now we can see it is around 56.5. So altcoins are rallying. Ethereum had a pretty good run, and so is, I think, many of the other coins. I think Bitcoin, the Binance coin is the star in this rally. It keeps performing. It has been I think one of the best performing coin in the whole space. So I think Binance is doing very well. They recovered from the hack very nicely, and they are now charging ahead with a lot of projects moving in on Binance. I think the biggest thing is they have a huge marketing machine with CZ himself tweeting all the time about all the projects and so on. So this is a very highly visible progress. I think on this project is taking it higher. On the other hand, I think we are expecting June 1st some announcement from Block 1, and I hope that the EOS also gets more attention. Remember that there is still a lot of FUD, so that let me go to that now that we are talking about EOS. So there are a lot of articles being written which are negatively impacting EOS all the time, and this is always a biased opinion, as you know that there are a lot of mainstream media and all these crypto bloggers. They have never really adopted EOS, and they were using some of the old news around ECAF and around the article which was that you can lose your EOS if you don't use them for 3 years. And EOS New York came out with the Twitter thread, which is a very good response. They have talked about why people should grow over the FUD and look at real progress being made. Especially, first of all, they debunked all the negative news being spread, and moreover they talked about a lot of great things which are happening in EOS world. And I will talk about one of those things, which is the recent release which came out a few days back, that is the native SDKs for Swift and Java. Now we keep talking about adoption, we keep talking about EOS apps. Now when we have now an SDK coming out from Block 1 where you can develop app directly for mobile, you can actually develop apps like Android apps and iOS apps with using this. This is amazing. I think this is something which no other blockchain has. And as you know, there are so many people already developing, and this SDK will bring in even more developers who do not need to learn blockchain, who do not need to go and learn the protocol level, and they can use this SDKs to go and experiment with their ideas. Now this is really amazing, because this is bridging the gap between the developers who are used to the standard iOS Android libraries, and they are looking for more easy to develop environments. Now, and as we all know, the amount of development which is already happening in EOS world is amazing. We keep talking about it. Let me talk a few more things, like we have this Anchor, which this is the Greymass wallet, as you know, is going to be rebranded. They are releasing this Anchor wallet very shortly. I think the initial beta is already ready. I'm trying it out. It looks very promising. You already know about Scatter. You already know about so many other wallets, I think, including ITAM Games. They have their own EOS stock wallet, which is using your Chrome extension. As you remember, Scatter had stopped supporting Chrome extension, and ITAM Games came out with that. And while we are at ITAM Games, last time we discussed, beyond that, I think a lot of progress has been made. In fact, they are now even inviting people for the private sale of their token, and they are issuing the token very soon, and you can register for that and get more information. But overall, I think some of these games, if you see, again, as I talked about adoption and developers developing for end user who do not care about blockchain. Now, I already discussed about your stock. Now, let me show you the ITAM Games. These guys have been developing so many games. Now, from what we saw last time, you see so many new games getting added. All these games are designed to play to earn. That means you can earn NFTs, and you can earn actually rewards for playing. And not only that, they are integrating fiat payments, they are integrating stable coins, and so on, to go and make it very, very easy onboarding for developers. So this is just one example. I think there are a lot more happening. Let's go back to EOS New York tweet series, and they talked about how the governance is moving ahead, how voters incentives are being discussed for EOS. If you're not aware, I think there is a lot of new ideas being proposed in the community. As you know, that we have been campaigning against removing that additional 4% inflation, which was going into savings and not being used. That is, I think, more or less moving ahead. We already burned 34 million tokens, as you know, and now we are looking to reduce the inflation which was going into EOSIO saving. But what EOS New York has proposed is to incentivize the voters with some additional inflation or additional rewards to bring in better participation and improving the governance. So that's another idea being proposed, and we all know about Rex and how it is enabling developers get cheap resources. We have dApp network. So this is, like, personally, I'm saying that, like, when I'm working with dApps now, always when we used to, 3 months back or 6 months back, I used to have this discussion around whenever the new dApp used to come into our incubator. We used to talk about how we can make sure we are using blockchain resources efficiently, because of course the blockchain resources are expensive as compared to a standard like AWS or cloud, like Amazon Cloud or Google Cloud and so on. But now, in very short time after the introduction of Rex and the introduction of the dApp network, that is the Liquid Apps dApp network, we can now access these resources, which is including RAM, including the CPU and net. All of them are so cheap that now we are going beyond the resource discussion, and now we are doing things which were not possible even a few months back on EOS. So these are, like, really amazing items. Like, I talked about tools. I talked about how Block One is releasing these amazing tools to develop apps. On the other hand, the community is working on these amazing wallets, and Also, the DApp network is again a community-driven exercise. They are monetizing using the DApp token, but overall, it's completely outside of block one where the development is happening. Then Chintai is another example. Even before Rex came out, Chintai was already making it easy for you to go and lease out these resources on EOS, like for example CPU and net. Now they are extending it to NFTs. They are extending it to how you manage accounts by, like, the dApps can go to Chintai to even allocate resources not only to their smart contracts but to the users who are going to be using their dApps. Of course, we have so many other things happening, like the stable coins moving to EOS. There are a lot of Banco and Kyber network and so on. There's so many more liquidity providers. So this is one of the richest ecosystem, I would say, which people are not realizing. Like if you can compare with any blockchain, either Ethereum or anybody who is trying to compete, I think they're just right now, because of all the FUD around EOS, people are just ignoring it, while there are a lot more people are building and real use cases here. So I have no doubt, other than of course Binance, which is making a lot of progress. Binance chain is not designed for smart contract that much. It is mostly for token release and token creation and so on, and their focus is very different as compared to EOS. They are targeting a lot more, like if you look at the basic infrastructure of smart contract development, developing really enterprise scale applications. That's what I would say is the biggest difference. Again, on PEOS, a lot of people have a lot of high hopes on the privacy coin. I'm not a big fan of privacy coin, so I would say that I would be a little conservative here, but yeah, I think community is very excited about it. Then we have the whole idea of how fast EOS is developing. That is what EOS New York has been covering. Finally, of course, as I said, if something which is really comes out of B1 on June, which I am not putting very high hopes on, other than because they're already releasing a lot of technology products. As we just saw, they have released SDKs, they have released 1.8 version of EOSIO, which is very, very powerful, and based on the legal issues around what they can do and what they cannot do for EOS mainnet, I do not have very high hopes of any major apps or products coming out. Definitely I'm hoping that they will make the onboarding of user easier, account creation easier. That's a lot of hope around that, and that is, I would say, one of the things which we would look out for. Moreover, it's more about how this announcements are affecting the public perception. I think that's another big thing. If they do use this event to create some additional marketing for EOS as a technology, I think that should definitely help. Again, a lot of people are speculating in community around what this event may be, and as Dan has said, means if you have unreasonable expectation, of course you will be disappointed. Otherwise, expect some great things. So let's go and see. I will be there. I think a lot of other community members are there, so do let me know if you want to meet up, and we will be definitely joining the Everything EOS meetup on 31st of May, which is a day before June 1 event, and that will be a great social event. We do have some other meetings happening from our side from Blockstart, because we are also building some apps, and we are meeting a lot more partners in that area. Another thing which I think recently came out is this EOSIO like smart contract development tool, and this is, they call it EOSIO Explorer. Now I have not looked at this, but I think a lot of people are excited. So I'm seeing that already Block One is publishing one by one some new tools, while community is also building similar tools, and it's becoming a very rich ecosystem. So in general, I would say EOS has made a lot of progress in last 3 to 4 months. I think ever since we hit that early 2019, and we have seen that people have been building for previous 6 months, like ever since the mainnet was launched, and we started seeing real results this year. And this is getting reflected in that even though I think the market has been moving around a lot, EOS has maintained in top 5. It is also maintaining the lead over some of the other coins even after we burned 34 million tokens. So if you remember, we would be much higher if we had not burned those 34 million tokens. So even without those 34 million tokens right now, you can see that we have regained position number 5. So I think this is a kind of a, while people are expecting $100 on EOS, means it's not reasonable with the rest of the market not really going up that fast. In addition, you need to understand all of these technologies are a promise. They're already pretty high valued. If even Bitcoin in terms of usage cannot be justified as a 140 billion market cap today. And so all this is speculation. It's all about what people believe in, and that's why I think it is important to understand that being in top 5 itself is a recognition, even with all the FUD around it, even though media is making sure that everybody thinks that EOS is not a good technology or there are some issues with EOS at the protocol level. Even then, being ahead of so many other competitors in the same domain, and the only other platform behind Ethereum is not a mean feat. Through the bear and bull market, we have seen all of it. So that is something which I keep telling people when people say, oh, why EOS is still not going up. You need to understand that it is actually doing very, very well from a market perspective, because it has not dropped. You may have seen many of these projects going into top 5 at one point, or even higher sometimes, and falling back. We have seen Cardano, we have seen Tron, like going up and down. We have seen even other Tezos and Cosmos being discussed as potential competitors to EOS, but they are still slow in developing. The pace of development, the actual deployment of dApps, I would say the only other competition I see which is not in the same area, which is Binance Coin, which is definitely leading ahead on the deployment and launching a lot of projects on Binance Coin, I would say, but they are not same, because Binance is definitely doing good based on their model, which is to create digital assets and release tokens. And that's what I see, more and more projects moving to Binance for that. While for dApps, if you're building real world use cases, there is no competition in the whole blockchain industry in open source. And that is where I think the potential of EOS is, as we go through this bull market, and as we hear more and more news and more and more people coming in and seeing what EOS is doing. So this is all from my end. I think, as I said, we have a very, very promising price action on Bitcoin, but be safe, because a correction is due. It may or may not happen, because the momentum is amazing and the consolidation is happening at the same price point for the last few days. So yeah, there is a equal chance of this going up from here versus going down to $6,000, which is possible. I don't think we should fall below $6,000 with the kind of momentum we have seen, unless, of course, there is always a possibility that there are manipulations happening in the market. So I'm actually very hopeful that we have seen the bottom, we are out of the bear market, and that is itself, I think, is a huge potential for anybody who has been building for last 1 year since EOS was launched. And if you were building, if you were focusing on how to really bring the best technology forward, so that when the bull market comes, I'm sure you will see that there will be a lot more adoption, and there will be a lot more people who will understand what blockchain is and how to use these dApps, and that will bring usage, and that will bring a lot of progress in this side. So again, thank you for joining. I hope that this was a useful update. We will keep coming back. In fact, I had promised that we will bring back the live shows. We could not do that because of the lack of time. So if you want to see more like in a Q&A sessions, or if you want to see live shows where you want to ask questions to us, definitely leave a comment, or come to our Telegram or Twitter, and do leave a comment below and let us know, and we will definitely bring it back, because it used to be very good when we used to interact a lot. I'm not sure how many people would be joining live, so I have been requested for that, and this is just wanted to remind all of you that it is something which I want to do, and if enough people are interested, we will bring the live show back soon. Other than that, I hope that all of you who have been participating in EOS actively, do try out. If you're using Greymass wallet, it's a big update coming. Just wait for it to be tested by enough people. Even though this is coming from the Greymass team, I think they have themselves asked to skip this version, to wait for stable version, but definitely try it out with your test accounts, and this is going to be very promising. If you are already using wallets, do remember to keep assigning proxy again if you're proxying, or vote directly to the block producers. It's very important to keep participating in that, and as you are already participating in a lot more dApps and so on. So thank you once again for joining. Bye for now, and we'll be back again with more information, and definitely we will be bringing more content once we are in DC for June 1st. And of course, there is another thing which I forgot to mention, that is June 6th, there is a BP summit, EOS BP summit, part of the Tulip conference, which is happening in San Francisco. Again, I will be there, and a lot of people are coming to San Francisco for that. So if you have not checked out that information, do check it out and join if you are interested. There's a lot more content happening throughout that week in San Francisco in Tulip conference, but 6th June is going to be dedicated to EOS BP summit with some interesting talks and a lot of great content. I'm looking forward to both these events on June 1st as well as on June 6th, and hopefully you will see a lot more awareness around EOS by that time. So thanks for now. Do not forget to press like and spread this video if you want to share more information about EOS. And thank you once again to all the subscribers, and we'll be back again. Bye bye.